What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. I'm Jack Walker Pearson. We got Lawrence St. Victor, Chris St. Victor, like I said, absolutely related, and Richard Wilson. Today we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
But wait, Jack, wait. Before we do anything, like, subscribe. Make sure you hit those playlists, hit the links below, and let us know how you feel about Guardians in the comment section after you hear this wonderful review. Back to you, Jack.
Great, thanks for that, Lawrence. We'll start with the spoiler-free synopsis. I didn't read a synopsis, so here's the one you're going to get. Rocket has problems, he's in danger of his life, and the Guardians go to save him. Great. Volume 3.
Sums
Boom.
it up.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's get our spoiler-free thoughts, then I'll give you a brief recap of the whole film, and then we'll dive into this thing.
All I'm going to say is this. In the same calendar year, James Gunn might have saved the MCU and the DCU in the same freaking calendar year. Because this was the movie I've been waiting for since after Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the Marvel film I'm like, let's go. Let's go. I loved it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say it was very few knocks that I have about this, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You little morons. This movie was awesome.
Yep.
Where to...
What?
I know what you did there. You idiot. You little idiots.
It's
Oh, it's a term of endearment, Rich. He says he loves you.
Yeah. That was good. I feel nice. I got a second, third, and fourth that. I think this is probably the single best MCU movie post Endgame and Spider-Man No Way Home. This
Agreed.
is the best thing that's come out in a long time.
This might be top.
Agreed.
This is top 5 for me, I think. This might be top 5.
It's great. And what a way to kind of put a button on a story. Way better than our debate answers.
Your debate answer.
Right. All right. Well, here's a brief recap of the film. I'll try to be as quick as possible so we can jump into it. So, the movie starts with Peter Quill sad, drunk, and depressed over the loss of Gamora, who was killed by Thanos during the Avengers Infinity Saga, right? Him and his crew are living in Nowhere, which is a civilization built inside the giant skull of a god that had died. Fix any facts I'm saying wrong, feel free to jump in.
Good.
So they're minding their own business when Adam Warlock comes to retrieve Rocket in an epic battle which ensues. Rocket gets critically injured, but the Guardians manage to stop Adam from retrieving him. Problem is, Rocket's got this auto kill switch inside of him. So when they go to try to help him because he got critically hurt by Adam Warlock, they find out that they're actually going to kill him by trying to save him. So they have to stop. So they put him in a kind of stasis while they figure out we got to go get this kill switch so we can help Rocket not be done. That's kind of the main plot of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. So they travel across the galaxy in order to retrieve this kind of Kodak that will let them access his biometrics so they can save him. They inadvertently, although kind of specifically, team up with Gamora, who at this point wants nothing to do with the Guardians, especially Peter Quill. But she is faithful to her sister and wants to help Nebula, which is why she kind of sticks around as long as she does. Otherwise, she got no reason. This is a very different Gamora. And if you saw the Christmas special, you got a better understanding of their hometown they're in. Right. Okay, great. Not sweat the small stuff. So she agrees to help him out because she wants to make some cheddar cheese, and she gets herself and the other Ravagers she's working with involved to make some capital. They end up wearing these wonderfully colorful, bright space suits, and they jump into the center of a giant organic space butthole looking thing, and they have this epic battle with Canadian actor Nathan Fillion. How do you say that guy's name? He was the lead. Fillion. Sorry, man.
Fancy with his name.
I'm like,
Listen, this guy's a national treasure. Starred in the hit series Firefly, and the battle that ensues in the butthole is hysterical. I'm calling it a butthole because I think it looks like a giant cosmic butthole.
But well taken care of, well manicured,
Yes.
very clean butthole.
Very clean butthole. Yeah.
It's ready to play, Chris.
Ready to go third knuckle deep. Let's go.
Oh man, there goes our
short. Long story short, their epic battle in the butthole takes place, and they end up not exactly getting what they need, but it points them in the direction to where they need to get the thing that they need so they can help Rocket. So they end up going to a place called Counter Earth, which was created by a guy called the Creator,
The high
who is thought
evolutionary.
the High Evolutionary, who is thought to be God in many places that he's actually created. He's also responsible for Rocket, and we'll get into that when we dive into it. So they go to this place called Counter Earth, which is basically a parallel Earth, only instead of humans, you have evolved animals. Bats, monkeys, you name the creature, that's who's running Earth. But it's kind of got the vibe of
Ninja Turtles?
like Ninja Turtles 1980s, kind of seedy, but it's also suburban. It's got like a weird 1950s, 1980s mashup vibe to it. So they go to that place, and they actually have their first encounter with the High Evolutionary, the High Evolutionary, who ends up blowing up the entire planet. But in the battle, they manage to get the Codex. Peter Quill, in an incredibly clever way, manages to get the Codex, and so he can help save Rocket. But while that happens, the team gets split, and half the team ends up going into the High
Evolutionary
spaceship, and they go off. But the other half of the team is stuck with Rocket. So Rocket comes back to life. This guy wants revenge. He also wants to save his other team. So they go to the High
evolution
spaceship, and they end up having this epic battle. But while they're in the High
Evolutionary
spaceship, they realize that his whole entire bottom cargo bay is filled up with children and other animal that he's doing evolutionary experiments with. They end up saving the kids, saving the animals, and then you get 2 post-credit scenes, which we can dive into when we get to the talk.
That's the movie, man. That's a lot. That's a lot of movie.
It's a lot of movie.
It's a lot of movie. And I'll say, like, for everyone that got mad at the MCU because they're not creating films that connect, that's not what makes it special. They make films that make you care about the characters who you can't wait to see team up with other characters you care about.
Yeah.
And this movie did not necessarily push the MCU forward, but it makes you want to see these people again. That's the point.
The strength of the first Guardians was that movie was standalone, and it was such a great time.
Yeah.
So I'll take a movie that's great over a movie that's building a universe, because the universe stuff is exciting for what might happen. But I'm excited for what's happening right now. And this movie is happening right now, and it's a banger.
Some movies are used to build the universe. That's where you get Ant-Man's or Doctor Strange's.
Captain America for the first Avenger.
Well, they're movies that you would never just go see on their own, but since it's connected to a whole, you have to go see them. Whereas Guardians, Iron Man 1, Thor, those are movies you're just going to go see. And you can't wait to see freaking Peter Quill team up with Thor, like, because you love these characters. So, man, I mean, I dug it, man. Jack, man, where we starting? We starting, I guess we're starting at the top.
Let's start at the beginning. So can
we start before the beginning? This proves my whole point.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Christmas special
talk about it.
Was so unnecessary because we left off the Christmas special with Peter. All right. He talks to Mantis, you're my sister, we're good, I'm fine. All that stuff, I was like, why isn't he grieving Gamora? Why isn't he like...
Because at the top of the film, guess what? He's grieving Gamora.
So the Christmas special contradicts this movie.
He's not only grieving
he was doing what every guy does, and he's like, "Listen, I'm all right," but deep down, he's not all right. We all done it.
Ups and downs, man.
But he was the Christmas
Kevin
special.
Bacon made it all right.
They were fine at the end of the Christmas special.
Well, that's because it was full of Christmas magic. But in real life, after
once that wears off,
what are we talking
it's
about?
Just one day of goodness.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you had Kevin Bacon to help you feel better.
The thing that the Christmas special did do is the Christmas special did establish the cast of characters in a way where by the time you're jumping into the Guardians, you know the family unit, you know the world they're in, you know who. You know
I got that from Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, you right about that too.
I got the team.
Lawrence, One word. Special.
Doo-doo.
But no, but it also
It was unnecessary. It didn't push the content forward.
No,
But I felt like it pushed Peter's story backwards.
Great.
didn't.
So
No,
I hope you guys enjoyed today's talk of Guardians of the Galaxy's Christmas special.
But we actually do have to talk about that. If you want to hear us talk about it, go to the playlist and you will hear our review of the Christmas special. But yes, we'll start with this.
So volume 3. So I tell you what I love though, they honestly let him have depth, sadness, and they investigated his sadness. Right? They didn't shortchange this guy's emotions. And in so many of these films, you got these protagonists, Thor, where they
play for the humor, man.
They play for the humor. And this movie had tons of humor, but it also had a lot of profound depth.
They didn't sacrifice it for the jokes.
The humor was appropriate at the time. It wasn't like Ant-Man where you have a very, very serious moment and you're making a dick joke.
You don't make they didn't make light of the drama.
Right. And then Drax, who is really the comic relief, he doesn't do it to be funny or to be witty. That's just how he is.
He doesn't have, what is it called? He's literal. He's completely literal. Yeah.
He's the best. He's so great. He was so great in this whole movie.
And even when Adam Warlock touched down and he was kind of turned into that kind of like a buffoon kind of character, but he's so violent that it juxtaposed how silly he was, because when he touched down and just snapped Mantis's arm, like you saw it break in his hand, it's like, oh, we're going there. You're making me feel the impact of the violence. They're not just John Wicking it, where all of a sudden it's like just a bunch of goons are falling down. It's like every time he hit them, I'm thinking like, Drax, are you going to get up from this? It's like you caved your chest in.
I don't think he has a full concept. He's like a kid with like impulse. I mean, he's technically a kid. He's like 7 years old that they say.
Well, that's what his mom said. They pulled him out of the pod too soon.
So he's like a kid, like with like a new, like, you give him a hamster and they're like choking the hamster too much, but usually, he has no impulse control.
But usually with these MCU films, they'll kind of make that kind of character the stupid one that's too strong, but never show you like the actual destruction. They'll show him blow something up, but you won't see the bodies flying. Here we saw bodies flying and breaking.
Yeah, even when he like entered the scene, like when he entered nowhere, like he just crashed through everything. Like every time he entered somewhere, he crashed into
like paper mache, man.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. But when Mantis and Nebula are having that argument, they're talking about Drax. She says Drax is the only one here that doesn't hate himself.
Oh, that hit me in the bones.
Depth. So his candor is his candor. How he is, but he's not a one-dimensional figure making stupid penis jokes.
She was like, he had as much loss as all of us.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's the only one that doesn't hate himself.
Well, and what they did for Drax by the end of the film, the gem that she dropped on him was just, you were never meant to be the destroyer.
You're Drax's dad.
And when you have a director, writer who was in the beginning of these movies, Drax was on a mission to kill Thanos because he killed his family, his daughter. Right. He always was a father first and lost his way. Beautiful arc.
That's what's so great about the What If series. You see a world where his family wasn't killed, and what is Drax? He's a bartender.
He's good. Yeah, he's not this conqueror. He's not this warrior.
Right.
And since talking about the beginning, like Rocket. I'm welling up at a CGI animated thing. This thing got me looking like oh my gosh.
Lila.
That whole thing.
Teeths.
I'm gonna call myself Teeth.
Because we all have them.
But mine are proportionately.
I'm on the floor, so I'll be called Floor.
And she's like, first off, it sounded like they was on them. They was smoking that stuff. When I saw that clip out of context, I'm like, what are they on? But it was so sweet. And for James Gunn to have the discipline and the confidence to go, I'm gonna slow this whole thing down and make it sweet. All these other MCU films do not slow themselves down and have a moment. And he's like, no, I'm gonna slow this is all just backstory. It's not even like, dude, and we hate flashbacks.
Hate flashbacks.
This movie.
Well, you hate flashbacks to me. Lawrence hates flashbacks.
Flashbacks almost
don't
dude, flashbacks almost always destroy the progression of a film. Almost always. But these flashbacks added depth to the character. And when that moment where he ends up ripping the high
evolutionary
face off, you're like, wow, and did they earn it?
Well, you saw the birth of Rocket.
Right.
Like how it became this tough as nails kind of creature because
boy.
his family was massacred because he decided, I'm gonna break these guys. He had no choice, they're all gonna kill us. But he took that responsibility. But back to the beginning,
Can we also talk about how wonderful Bradley Cooper is at voicing Rocket?
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And he's incredible. He's literally incredible. It's not like you can almost make out that Bradley's back there, but he has so invested in embodying Rocket, not himself as the character. It's just
right. And there's actual video of him in the studio, and everything is in. He's on set. Like his whole body is engaged with it. But then we also got to show love to freaking what's his name? James Gunn's brother. He was Sean Gunn, because I think he do the actual motion cap on set Rocket work.
Oh, does he?
I think so. So he's the one that's actually physically doing the stuff as Bradley Cooper's doing the voice.
You know, going back to the beginning of this movie, you know, a lot of times when we see sequels and trilogies, you know, they use the trope of let's dump as many characters into this movie as we possibly can to try and up the ante. Where I didn't feel like they did that with this. Yes, we have an expanded cast because the adventures have gone on, but they really focused on the core group to achieve this goal of saving Rocket. They did it without, you know, having needless cameos. They did it without a ton of Easter eggs. They did it with just good, solid story with characters that we care about. And I think that's why
it's the most heroic any of these characters have been. I mean, it's really one of the first times where we see Peter is exceptionally good.
He's such a good leader. It's what we missed in Thor: Love and Thunder. How are you not how have you not evolved into a better hero at this point? How are you still dim with it?
You never lost Peter, but there were all these moments they found where they let him be smart and clever and 2 steps ahead of people.
When they thought he was dumb, like when he was like, I'm gonna just basically flirt with this woman, and she's gonna let me in, and she's like, I find you to be a douchebag. 5 minutes later, she believes his sob story and gives him access, and he looks at her and says, you see, I'm not that dumb. But he's also like, I've been working on her from the beginning. You thought I was going to get her to open the thing in 2 seconds. He's like, no, man, I'm playing the long game with her. And then Peter's idea to jump out of the spaceship, it worked. And they didn't trust him.
It was like, yeah, why not?
If they just trusted him, he wouldn't have had to go
how
back.
violent was that? When they landed on that dude's face and just crushed him through
the violence in this was amazing. And when you get James Gunn coming off a freaking Suicide and Peacemaker, you gotta let this guy fly.
How dope was Groot when he opened up and he had the guns inside of him?
But when he gave him the guns before they got there, and he's like, you know what to do with these.
Right.
And it's like, yes,
but he had no idea he actually had 40 guns in him. I thought it was like 2.
I was gonna say something. I lost my train of thought.
It was definitely violent though. The way he goes, kill them all. I mean, Peter literally says, kill them all.
But he doesn't lose his heroic qualities because they gave him no choice.
Well,
he was
also,
like, I came here to get a thing. And also, the freaking villain starts a monologue, and he's like, would you shut up? You know how many times I've heard some freaking guy?
Yes.
And it was just like how self-aware they are without making it a parody. But like Peter has heard a lot of freaking Maleficent, whatever.
Literally his dad.
Yes. He's like, I've heard this before. I've heard a bunch of douchebags try to tell me they're going to take over the world. The High Evolutionary. This actor came to freaking play.
Yes, he did.
Every scene. And he was charismatic. He was bombastic. He got serious. He got vulnerable. Like he hit the whole gamut of everything.
But also, you could identify his wants so well. He wasn't one-dimensional Snidely Whiplash, right? It
Oh
was
Right.
like
man.
he was driven in a way, and his drive for perfection is the thing that undid him ultimately. Where you literally see his entire crew turning against him.
Such a beautiful moment because
Ooh.
you never see that in these films where, like you say, you hate when characters don't do logical things. And his crew are a bunch of extremely intelligent, logical, reasonable math people, and he's not following the math. So they
Right.
had no choice but to turn their guns on him.
And in another scene when he lets the guys go, he's like, "Just go." They're like, "Save yourselves. This place is blowing up." And the three henchmen just run away. Like, you know what? Let's stop fighting. Let's
Yeah,
go.
because I always thought that, like, why are so many goons ride or die? Like,
Right.
Superman just came, he's blowing everybody away. Why are you still sitting here with your guns? Like,
Right.
why do you still think this works? And it's just smart. It's smart.
Yeah. That moment with Peter was great.
I
You know,
mean,
we have the High Evolutionary, and you're right, his acting was so good, but because the movie itself was so good, he was in this movie. It's not like Kang in Ant-Man, where we're like, Jonathan Majors is in a different movie. He got a different script than everyone else, and he's
yeah.
in a
Yeah.
completely different movie. This guy felt right in this movie.
Yeah.
It was appropriate, even with his fantastic acting. It was right for this.
Now, I want them more flowers on this actor before we move on. I'm not going to talk about the situation because I don't know what's going on. But if they do have to recast Kang, just say the High Evolutionaries are freaking variant. Bring this guy back as Kang to move forward if you have to,
Yeah.
because this guy, his presence, you can build a universe. You can build a phase off this guy.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
can build a phase off of this
And
actor.
look how big he was. I mean, and that's what's so fun about the Guardian movies in general is they've found a way to introduce these humongous adversaries without needing 7 films to set it up, and you instantly buy it. You're like, I don't know how he's managed to stay squirreled away in his corner of the cosmos doing what he's doing, but I believe it.
And James Gunn doubled down on the emotional arc. So he didn't have to think of, how do I come up with a villain bigger than Ego? You can't.
Right.
So you just double down and make it an emotional story because you're not going to create a villain bigger than the freaking planet. Unless you bring in Galactus, it's going to be more of the same.
Right, but you don't have to. It's a different adventure. The Ego Adventure was a one adventure. This is a different adventure that they don't need to be. It's like I said, they don't need to go and introduce all this stuff and try and top the second movie. You give us a good story, a good adventure, and as the fans, we'll take it, we'll buy it, and we'll patronize it. It's great.
And okay, and this is what I want to say. They did something that the other MCU films did not do. The other MCU films made a joke about the blip. They made a joke about what happened after Thanos.
Yeah.
This one, a part of this emotional arc is the fact that Gamora did die. And this
came
Gamora
back.
is from a
It's
timeline where she doesn't know Peter. And
Yes.
it's not thrown away. The ramifications of that is deeply emotional and deeply painful.
But what's great about it is you see Peter knowing that it's an opportunity to try to reinvest. Well, she's stuck here helping us. Let me see if I can win her over like I did the first time around.
Right.
And it does. I mean, they do finally have just a really beautiful moment together by the end of it where they have a moment of, let's say, connection. Not necessarily romance or anything, but they have a moment of real human connection between the two of them. And you're like, the whole movie was worth them having that moment.
And by the end, when they have those words, she's like, I know that I'll never be who she was.
But I'll
And he's
bet
like,
we were fun.
and then he was like, but
You'll
you're
never.
not so bad yourself. Like he said, like whoever you are, I'm accepting of.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just hit me in the feels.
But what was crazy about Peter's conflict wasn't just that Gamora had died. Because if Gamora was dead and removed entirely, then he would have had to have grieved and moved on. But the fact that she was there almost intensified the grieving process because it was in front of him that as this constant reminder that he couldn't have the thing that he had.
Right.
And it's not
He's
an
reopening a
alternate
wound.
reality Gamora. It's your Gamora, just picked from a different point in time. So everything about her is very similar to how you first met her.
Right.
She is that person.
You know what else was great about this movie is everyone got love and everyone got fleshed out on a more in-depth way. We got way more understanding of Nebula. We got more understanding of Peter for the first time, even more so than part 2. Part 2 is like almost mad to me, but the level of depth that Peter got in this film made part 2 finally like really matter. Obviously Rocket, but even Groot got love, you know?
I mean, and you got to see
Drax being a father by the end of it.
Yep.
The dynamic of how they work together and how specific they are, how Nebula trusts Peter. And she doesn't really gig on Peter too much, but how much Drax and Mantis get on her nerves. Drax and Mantis like brother and sister. Drax gets on Peter's nerves. Peter is looking at Rocket like he's his best friend. Like not all we see the interworkings. Second best. But like their individual dynamics with each other was so clear. Yeah. And so flat. And how like Peter and Mantis are brother and sister, but it's obvious he will never listen to her. So she has to go to Drax to tell him the swimming story.
The Bond story.
This movie was so... It highlights the point I keep screaming when I watch some of these other films, that if the story is not right, if they haven't figured the story out, you're just not going to care how pretty it is. You're not going to care about the pyrotechnical aspects. Doesn't matter how fancy your CGI is if you don't care about these characters.
Right.
I mean, that's absolutely right, man. And have a compelling villain who you get why you'd want it. Like if you had, like, you get why he's doing this. Don't agree with him, but I get why he's compelled to make a better Earth. And you know, and some can say this is like one like a PETA film. Like this is the pro animals movie.
Especially by the end of it, right?
By the end of it,
yeah.
And but it didn't feel bad to me. Like it didn't feel like a PSA thing to me. It felt like it wouldn't have been true to Rocket's whole trajectory of this film if that didn't happen also.
Well, I was sitting there like, y'all can't let these animals die, surely.
Right.
Because Rocket, come on. Mm-hmm. And like you said, they all had their time to shine. And it was amazing how the counter Earth was a piece. It was just like ours. It had crime. It was just selling meth to kids outside of school.
It was 1985 Earth. They had the picture of the lasers in the background and the Bat Lady's house. It was cool attention to detail that kind of picked the period of when that Earth was, where that Earth is. We know it's mid 80s, and it just
how the high evolutionary just flicked the button. This doesn't work. You're right. And they said, I think somebody said, like, you think you're God? He's like, there is no God. That's why I had to step in. I mean, that's a cold piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
That's because, you know, mustache twirling would be, I am God. He's like, no, I had to step in.
It sounds like we're all pretty unanimously kind of love this thing. I don't think we need to labor the point. What were some of our favorite moments?
First, I love that Peter was a hero. That I felt like in part 2, they were kind of doing the machine gun joke thing. And yeah. I'm happy that they didn't sacrifice his heroism for jokes. They found a way to make it happen simultaneously, and how all his plans, for the most part, worked, with the exception of trying to save Rocket, because he didn't know that Pac would switch a kill safe or whatever. So I really enjoyed seeing him be a hero in this, because we haven't. Thor left a bad taste in my mouth, man. He was a hero, but he devolved. He
was a buffoon before he was a hero, though. Like,
yeah,
the comedy sacrificed the stakes in that,
and specifically for his character, because his whole thing in part 1 is you need to grow up to be worthy. That's his whole arc in the first one. You need to grow up, and then we saw him grow up, and then goes through grief because he didn't go to the head to kill Thanos. It's my fault. We see him go into a depression and then come out as a freaking hero, only to like turn into a buffoon again.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I killed him off in the debate. What are you gonna do with him?
It's too bad because, and I've said this a million times at this point, the source material for that film is so rich that's the way they ended up depicting it. Is just
And honestly, I don't know Adam Warlock. Maybe Marvel fans will go, no, this was whack. This is blasphemy. I don't know.
No. Adam Warlock is kind of an and he kind of toes the line between villain and hero, kind of does his own thing.
But is
So
he like juvenile?
that I don't know that, but I was reading a little bit of background on him, and he has a very contentious relationship with the heroes, where he's kind of good, kind of bad, kind of exactly how they depicted him in the movie.
Okay.
So I feel like,
well, he certainly wasn't the MODOK of the film, you know.
right,
And
right,
you could easily saw him. And the thing is, as a story arc, he kind of was the bad guy who's there, then all of a sudden becomes good in the end. Like on paper, like the points,
Yep.
similar trajectory, except here you gave him someone to care about, and you took his mother away.
right.
Everyone has something to lose. I think that's the point of this film. From the bad guy to the good guys to the guys in between, everyone has something to lose.
Yes, Lawrence.
And you feel the weight of it.
You nailed it. And a good film or a good story, a good script, usually there's some sort of unifying point. And I think you just hit it. I think that's honestly probably what it was. This film examines loss and the stakes of what it is to lose that thing you hold so dearly.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. And if you look at every single one of the characters, they all personify that at some point in the film.
And what makes the film work so well when you got Peter and Rocket is that Peter's grieving a loss and it took him off his A game. And now you're really about to lose your friend.
Right.
You're
right.
really about to lose Rocket because you decided to go on this bender. And it wraps the stories up. And you're watching Peter like, I have a second chance not to lose someone.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna rise to the occasion. I'm gonna be a hero and rise
I
to the
have
occasion.
to.
Yep.
I have to.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, I loved it. I loved it. This is probably top 5 for me.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite moments, Rich?
Definitely the Groot when he pulled out the guns, because it showed. First of all, Groot in general, I like, because I read a little bit about him and why he evolved the way he did, is because he took characteristics from everyone that was around him, and that's how he became like I guess what they call a muscle Groot now.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then with that being said, he took, he uses guns, which I think is dope. And yeah, and then Batista is always dope. Like
Yeah.
he's just, I don't know, evolving as an actor, in my opinion.
So vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not just like a punching, slashing meathead. Like you see him like show his feeling. Like you saw connections with him and Mantis, especially in the special. You saw those connections. Man, Chuck Whitty. I'm probably butchering his
I
name.
can't even
The
say
High
it.
Evolutionary.
Yes.
Bruh.
He came to play.
He did. I mean, he was just dope all around. And like, I'm sorry, y'all said he wasn't as big as Ego. I think he was just that he made he's literally made and destroyed civilizations. Like he
You're right.
created
That's a
people and
valid
got
point.
rid of them because they weren't up to snuff. Like he was doing it all the time. Like you saw him create the first like hybrid animals that, but they were too violent. He was like, get rid of them. And then he created
Yeah.
the second, like, get rid of them. Now he got the little kids, and they weren't up to snuff. He definitely would have gotten rid of them.
He probably has gotten rid of a bunch
Yeah,
he got
definitely has.
till he figured it out.
Like, I think he was just as big, if not bigger, than Ego. And then also with that line was hard. He was like, "Yo, God, I pretty much had to do his job. What are you talking about?" Like,
and
that was a hard line.
And like he had another line that's soul crushing when he looked at Rocket and he was like, You're not going.
Oh yeah.
You got us the equation. You got us here. That you're so smart. You didn't figure out that you're not coming. Oh, it was and it was just like the way he did it, it wasn't like condescending. It was just like
genuine.
It's so matter of fact. Like,
oh, you poor
fool.
thing. You poor thing.
Yeah.
Which just proved his point. Also, he was confused by it.
Yeah, he was he also wanted to cut into his brain because he doesn't understand how this works. How do you not get this, but you get this? You solve complex equations. Yeah.
The way he interacted with the animals, the way he just physically handled them was.
If told the line between love and comfort, and you're going to crush that thing's skull.
was
and
so
I wasn't sure
at any moment you just kind of
what.
felt real uneasy.
Dude, he's doing what Loki did. He's doing the thing where it's like you have to come back and you have to be a big bad again.
Please.
He's so freaking good. And James Gunn, man, every character in this movie's childlike, and it works. They're all like all have an innocence, even the bad guy, and that's why you buy in. They all have a hope for something or a hope lost for something, and they chase it with this childlike innocence.
This movie was so good. It really it did two things. It put me at ease with him being at the helm of DC and Superman, and it also it sets the bar high. You know, it's like can you do the guy struck gold with Guardians, but he did it with a bunch of characters who no one really had
You still made a good
a lot.
movie. You
Yep.
still made a
Yes,
good movie.
I think I want. It's harder, man. I think it's harder when people are so ish about the source material, and everyone knows what they think Superman is. Everyone knows what they think
But
Batman is.
I think he has an easier time because Superman has been so bad that it's the opposite thing. It's like whatever if he comes like the heart that's in this, like he showed us every flex he has to make a dope Superman movie is in this movie.
I
The
guarantee
heart, the warmth.
he's probably not killing Jimmy Olsen off in the first scene.
It's probably not. We're probably gonna go home and see Jimmy Olsen pay rent. No, you see
It's hard out here.
everything in this movie is like, yo, you have the heart and empathy to make a dope Superman story. How
Yeah,
how much you? Because I was waiting for one of these characters to die. I'm like, it's the last one. He's probably gonna kill one of them.
Yep.
He doesn't.
I thought
No, but
Peter
the-
was gonna die at that last second. And then I was
I
like,
thought someone
I mean,
was gonna
what they
fight
did
it.
with his face, dude, his
Yeah.
face like popped, and you're like, it makes sense because he's not half God anymore. You know, he's not half ego anymore.
Didn't that happen in part 1 too?
But
Like
it
they were
did,
in
but
space.
he didn't.
Nah, you just like
He went
froze.
frozen,
Yeah.
but he didn't explode. His face
Yeah.
kind of started exploding, and you're like,
Hmm.
because he doesn't have that power anymore. How about you, Chris? Man, what were some of your favorite moments?
my Drax was a standout for me. I loved his line. His one-liners was awesome. I loved the whole flashback series of Rocket. Could have been a series or a movie within itself.
Yes.
It was, and I think it just tested the complexity and depth of the characters and the story that we got. We have the movie. I don't know what the runtime is, but we got a lot of content packed into whatever this runtime is. So it's just been. It was just a wild ride from beginning to end, and I just all the characters had, they were complex, they were depth. There wasn't a definitive black and white. It was like there was gray areas there, and you understand motivations, you understand why people were doing what they were doing, and it was just a good story. And that's the best. That's the biggest takeaway for me. It was just such a great movie. I loved it.
Yeah. All right. Well, shall we? Any final remarks before we rank this thing?
I mean, just a little Easter eggs. I mean, just seeing Nathan Fillion, knowing that he was in Firefly, they had like pretty much the Peter Quill of that series in this is pretty dope. I love the fact that James Gunn is like, I work with my people. There were so many people in this film that was from Peacemaker and so forth. His wife, who's the blonde woman in Peacemaker, played the woman in this that was like in the butthole. She was like the head of the butthole.
The receptionist, the butthole receptionist.
No, she played the rat person in Suicide Squad.
Really?
That was the rat person. Rat catcher, yes.
Wow.
And of course, the High Evolutionary was the lead guy in Peacemaker. He was the dude in that. I mean, so many crossovers. I mean, you got a guy who like has a bunch of actors that are like, I want to work with this dude. I like, he brings out the best. This guy, Batista's a dope actor, but he's taking non-actors or beginning actors, John Cena, Batista in the beginning, and turning them into stars and unique stars, man.
Baptista's been, Baptista has really he popped off during the first Guardians movie, but he's been in the game for quite some time actually.
But James Gunn, like Rich said, didn't say I just want you to be like Hulk Smash.
Right.
Like I'm gonna take these things inside of you that I can see that maybe the rest of the industry can't see, and we're going to put them on display here. You're going to be the most vulnerable and pathetic guardian here. And one last thing, I want to say it. Groot spoke, guys. How did we not cover that?
No. I interpreted that as we understood Groot.
That's my point. That's my point.
That's what I understood too.
But
and I almost thought it was the most unnecessary part of the film.
I thought it was extremely necessary. I felt like as an audience, we earned it.
Yep.
That's James Gunn saying, now you guys.
You've come along the ride for so long.
You know,
You're part
I like
of the Guardians now.
Because Gamora, at the end of it, we understood it right after Gamora understood him. Mm-hmm. So thematically, that also makes sense. We see that a person can just, for some weird reason, understand the language.
And James Gunn, he's at DC. This is the last time he's making a Guardians movie. This is his finale. So this is him saying to the audience, welcome to the Guardians.
Let's quickly talk about the post-credit scene. So the first post-credit scene is we have Rocket is the new captain of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And Adam Warlock, Groot.
Groot, by this time, Groot looks like the Groot in the comics now. He's a giant, massive tree form.
Who else is? The dog.
The dog guy.
Who else is? Oh, he even got his moment of sun. The dude with the
man.
Yes.
Good. Good dog. Yeah. So good.
And I like that they're the guard. They're still sitting on that rock. The whole civilization's running for their lives. And they're like, they're being like, I can take it alone. Nah, I'll be fast if we do it. Like, it's a Tuesday for them.
Yeah. And here's what's crazy about it. The way the Avengers are turning into whatever group they're turning into, I don't know, doesn't exactly feel like it's the Avengers anymore. This new Guardians of the Galaxy group feels like it's still the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep. I agree.
Right? And okay, and then the second post-credit scene is Peter Quill on Earth eating cereal with his
granddad.
Did you guys see the title of the newspaper that the granddad was reading?
No. Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Great.
Is back. Kevin talks about is alien abduction.
Right. And then the last thing we get is Smash to Black, title graphic, the legendary Star-Lord will return.
We clapped in that theater. Our theater clapped for that.
This was a clap-worthy movie, man.
No one clapped for that?
Nope.
They harsh over where you at, man. And I'm interested to see how. In what capacity?
Movie or series?
Well, what it means is...
Hopefully it's not a series, man.
The way I read it was kind of how I read Emma Watson stepping away from acting. These guys probably, their contracts are up, and they might need just to go... You know that moment in Armageddon where they're training to go put a missile in the asteroid, and Bruce Willis is like, hey, man, we're forgetting why we're here. We need to go detox for a minute, connect with ourselves and Earth. I think that's what's going on. Maybe on some level, the contracts of these actors are up.
No, James Gunn's done. That's why it's Guardians is
done. But that doesn't mean, Chris Pratt's done.
No, but I think to the audience, it was undecided what was going to happen with any of these characters or the Guardians. Not because Chris Pratt made a decision, but because James Gunn directed and wrote all these movies. He's done.
Yeah,
so,
but it's left open-ended enough where they might detox for a few films. We know why they're not showing up in the Avengers stuff. We know why they might not be showing up in future content for a while. But if they want to come back, they're still alive and kicking.
I will say Batista and Zoe Saldana have both said they're done. They're done with their Marvel tenure, specifically Batista. I think Batista already was like, because you know how like they got rid of James Gunn over those tweets.
Yeah.
And Batista, the whole cast was like, well, and we're not doing it without him. I think Batista also was like, I'm pissed off with you guys. The only reason I came back as Drax is because of James Gunn.
Yeah, but look what they managed to do. They managed to give finality to all of the characters and leave it in a way where they're still there. If it needed to happen, they're still there. So it's crazy. I mean, handled it really well. All right, let's rate this thing. Where do we stand with this? Lawrence, 1 to 10.
Why'd I gotta go first?
Right.
Yeah, someone else go first.
Chris, what are you giving this thing? 1 to 10.
giving it I'm giving it a 9. Top 5 MCU movies, hands down. I agree with Lawrence. It's up there. It might be like, No Way Home.
This is
but
better than No Way Home. I'm sorry.
it's
No
good,
Way
man.
Home got good at the halfway point when Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire popped up. Nobody remembers the first half of that movie.
Yeah, that's
With him
true.
going to school, I got to get my friends into college.
It was just generic. It was generic the first half. It was just a
His-
regular Spider-Man movie.
His Doctor Strange fight, like nobody talks about the first half.
That's true.
Of that joint.
No Way Home really capitalized on nostalgia.
Right.
Does so much for that film. This film just does
good
so
story.
much for itself.
Yeah.
So that's why I got to put it above. If I'm putting it above, I'm with you, Chris. I'm putting it above No Way Home, then it's got to be a 9 because I gave No Way Home a 9. This is a 9.
9-9. Rich, where are you standing with this one?
I'm giving it a 9.
Ooh.
It was a dope movie.
You know what? I am too. This movie,
Jack, you're giving it a 9?
This movie was phenomenal. It just was. It
Yeah,
just was.
I
For
agree.
me, my experience of it was I was emotionally invested, and I had to fight back my own emotions in moments of this film because I cared about what's going on. There was maybe 1 or 2 moments where I was like, okay, but beat for beat, frame for frame, the story was great. The characters were compelling. Everyone was behaving. I love it when they let heroes be heroic. And when they weren't so heroic in certain moments, they were still themselves. These characters aren't Superman and Batman. They don't have exactly the strict moral code and compass for what they do, but they're heroes and they're heroic.
And their code is clear. Like when Groot had the High Evolutionary on the ground, he didn't kill him because we're Guardians. Peter Quill was like, we have no choice. You guys are attacking us. Kill them all.
Yeah.
So you see their code. We don't want to kill you, but if you give me no choice,
We'll bring it.
you're going to get these hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie was a home run from start to finish for me.
Agreed.
I mean, it hit it, dude. It hit it. I feel like I had one more point. I lost my train of thought again.
Slow as that train was going, and he lost it.
It's gone. Maybe it'll
Well,
come back.
Throw it in if it comes back. So we're giving this movie a solid 9. James Gunn, well done. Cast and crew, all the people that made this movie happen. Thank you.
Oh, I got my point back. It was what you said, Jack, because you talked about how everyone did everything logical and reasonable. And when they had their fight in the hallway with all the Guardians fighting and how in sync they were,
Yeah.
and the fact that Gamora was slightly out of sync, getting punched in the face because
But she figured it out by the end of it.
Because you see her figure, because she wouldn't know how to fight with them. And I feel like that detail would be lost in other movies. Where here it's like she's not flowing yet, but then she gets the flow because this is the team she's supposed to be with.
Yeah, man. This movie was so good. And to be honest, we've done a very crude job depicting what this film was. So you should go to the theaters and watch it if you haven't already. And if you haven't and you watching this or listening to it,
Why?
cool
Thank
though.
you. Thank you for the view.
Like, subscribe. So that's our take on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This has been an exciting episode of Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. Like, subscribe. If you like this, you can catch us on Apple Podcast stuff or anywhere you get
anywhere you get your podcast from.
Anywhere you get your podcast goods. We're on Instagram, dropping content all day, every day. We're on the TikTok, dropping content all day, every day. And what else are we on? We're on a lot of stuff. So just type in that Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk, and you're going to find us if you're looking for us. and if you're not looking for us,
What are you doing with your life?
and you're also probably not hearing my voice right now.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. We're talking